Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode here on my Minecraft Survival Let's Play world, where we're actually not back where we finished off in the previous episode, because last time out we were actually working down there creating that nether portal and working in the nether dimension itself, creating my nether hub. And I'm very happy with the result actually last time, and we're going to go ahead and explore that, because if you guys don't recall, then you can always look back in today's episode and see what we did last time. However, in today's episode, we're actually not going to be working in the nether down there. Instead, we're going to actually come back to this settlement over here and continue work on it. And I know a bunch of you guys love the settlement here, all the building I've done, and I agree with you. I love my building as well. I think these towers over here look absolutely spectacular, and this building looks absolutely amazing as well. But in today's episode, when we're working over here, we're actually not going to be making any new builds. Instead, we're going to be doing a whole bunch of terraforming, building some beautiful trees, extending this pathway here, and a whole bunch more. But we'll get into the details a bit later. But anyway, without a further ado, let's head on over to the nether so I can show you guys what I ended up building last time. Okie dokie artichoke, so to begin with, we've got this nether portal that we ended up building in the previous episode, which I think looks pretty cool. It's very simplistic like I said last time out, and it does the job, to be fair. It's something very small, but it's pretty nice. It's just a very small cave entrance, and it also fits in with the future 1.17 update, which is actually already out. Part 1 is out, but I'm not going to switch to it yet because I need to wait till replay mod comes out before I switch to that. And also that's also quite exciting because you can start using the new blocks later on once I change into that update. But otherwise, I really love this cave entrance over here, and it's also got a very nice fitting nether portal. It fits very snugly into this area. But once we actually venture into this nether portal here, you can see what I built on the other side, which is this beautiful train station over here. It looks absolutely spectacular and I'm in love with it. Just like all my builds, I think this is pretty cool, and I always try to build them to my highest standard. So if you haven't already watched my previous episode, go ahead and do that, and you can see basically a whole tour of this place. But I'm just going to do a quick rundown if you guys didn't watch the last one. So you come through that nether portal there, which links up to my cave nether portal on the overworld side, and then you got our train station terminal. I don't know if you call it terminal, but that's what I'm just going to call it because I don't have any train knowledge. But either way, once you enter the terminal over here, you got a nice looking steampunk train, which I think looks absolutely spectacular, that I built myself. You got the train tracks. You of course have to walk over the train tracks, but don't worry, the train's not going to kill you or anything. And then you've got this little kind of seating platform area over here. I think that's what it's called, platform, right? And then you've got another railway section down here. And you've also got a nice view out into the nether as well. Just trying to incorporate that into my builds makes it look a lot nicer. And then of course, with any sort of nether hub, you need to have an ice road. So I've made an ice road connecting up this nether hub all the way to my industrial district down in this side over here. If you just make a few turns and look down that tunnel over there, we can eventually see my, there we go, freight train. That marks my industrial district terminal, and this is what we built a few episodes ago, I think in episode 38. But I'm also very happy with how this train station turned out as well. And over there we've also got my piglin bartering farm. But anyway, let's head on back to the settlement because this is going to take way too long. But I'm very happy with how this turned out, and go ahead and check the previous episode if you haven't already watched it. Anyway, let's head on back to the settlement. And just, this took so long to build, but I'm very happy with it. And that's about 800 blocks of traveling within a matter of 5 seconds or so. Not 5 seconds, but 10 seconds, but it's good enough. Anyway, let's head on through the portal before these guys get me over here and before I die. So for those of you that already watch my channel, you know I love to build my structures to the highest quality that I possibly can. And that's what I'm trying to basically achieve in this summer, and here build all these structures super nicely, so that when you guys actually get a world download or anything like that, you guys can walk through it and just have a very nice stroll through this area. And I think it looks pretty cool in terms of structures so far. But in terms of infrastructure, this place is pretty barren. The terrain is pretty bland, and there's not that many paths right now. Even this path isn't connected up to that path. So in today's episode, we're going to be building a bunch of pathways and interconnecting, ways to walk around all around this terrain over here, just kind of linking it all up and make some pathways for buildings in the future. That way it will not be so boring later on when we create so many pathways, and we can do it all in one episode. And to make this episode a little less boring as well, we can also mix in some other little details that we can do, like doing some terraforming. I'm planning to add a lot of these green concrete powder in everywhere into the terrain, so it just looks a lot nicer. Adding in some grass, some little details here and there, like some flowers and things like that, bushes, some small details, even like a wheelbarrow there here and there will look quite nice. And of course, with any sort of terraforming, you need to have some beautiful custom trees. So I'm also going to dot those here and there around the landscape. And then once we end up with all of that there, I think the product we're going to come up with is going to be absolutely amazing. What I might even do is actually add another little valley, just like the one that we created over there, down this little section over here, cutting through the terrain, and have a bridge go over that. And I think that's going to be pretty cool, like a little nice bridge. I think will look actually fantastic in such an area. But now that I say all of that, that sounds like a super huge task, so we should probably get building straight away because we have loads to do. So I guess with all of that being said and done, I'm going to have to grab all my materials, so I'll see you guys back here very shortly so you can begin planning and starting to build this little area that we're going to transform. And I know in the past that you guys love my terraforming, so I know you guys are going to love this video as well. So I'll see you all shortly once I've grabbed all my materials, and I'll see you guys back here. And there you go, you can see my eyes. Yeah, I'll see you guys very shortly, and I'll grab my materials. See you back here. Wait, I just realized I literally have all the blocks that I need on hand, literally in my inventory, and I've got an ender chest full of my shulker boxes here, so I have no clue why I was flying out in that direction over there. I guess I just really wanted to make a cool exit or anything. But anyway, I've got all my blocks on hand now. I just need to kind of look through them. But yeah, forget about that. Anyway, so I'm just going to go ahead, look through my shulker boxes and find the materials that I'm going to end up using to transform this area over here. And actually, now that I think about it, the first shulker box I should probably use is the stone bricks box over here, because before we do anything, I think planning is the best thing to do. So I'm actually going to use these stone bricks over here and kind of lay out the direction that my pathways are going to flow in. And if you guys watch my previous episodes, I just like to place blocks here and there, just trying to get for a feel for where the pathways are going to head in, and just get a somewhat vague idea of how this is going to end up looking. And I think this is going to be quite useful for me later on to kind of just get an idea for how this whole settlement is going to come out looking like. But I think this is a very boring process, to be fair. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and do all this off camera so you guys don't have to bear through it. And then you guys can see this all after, and I'll give you a small tour of what I've gone ahead and planned out. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and continue labeling this pathway over here, just planning it out. And I'll see you guys once this is all done so that I can show it off to you guys. Alrighty, here we have it. After about 5 minutes or so of work, I've pretty much gone ahead and laid out the entire pathway system that we're going to be creating in today's episode. And you can see it's fairly small, but otherwise, if we make it any bigger than this, we're probably not going to be able to finish it in today's episode. But this is just the main exoskeleton of the pathway. There's going to be probably some changes in the future, and this is just going to be the main pathway. So if we build any structures in the future, we can also just make a pathway when we build them and connect them up to this main pathway over here. Kind of like what we did with those towers there. When we first built it, we actually built a pathway with it over here, including that bridge there, which looks quite nice. But over here, I'm pretty much done with the entire pathway system, and I'm going to show you guys around it so that you can see what we're going to be doing with this pathway over here. So basically, we start off here at my bakery, where we pretty much started building this pathway. And let me just quickly pick up the shulker box here and just put it back into my inventory in the meantime. But basically, the pathway kind of just comes along this way, just continues going in this direction over here, and joins up at a confluence with this pathway here as well. Okay, so it's just a kind of just intersection there, and then they both kind of merge at this point here. So it's just a simple pathway. They both kind of curve into each other there, and then I've actually dug out this little area down here just to kind of create like a tunnel with no ceiling there, and I think that looks quite nice. If you guys don't really understand what I'm trying to say here, is I'll probably just put a picture up actually on screen right now so that you guys can get a feel for what I'm trying to say. But I'm going to create one of those things right here, and basically there's going to be the pathway running down this little divot down here, or this little kind of hole down here, and then we're going to have some walls, some brick walls holding back the dirt on either side, and I think that's going to be quite nice. We can also have some flowers and some grass on either side, maybe some leaves coming down, and I think that'll look quite cool. It also breaks up the terrain and makes the pathway a little bit more interesting, gives it a little bit more lore. And then once you of course come out of this section over here, you continue walking down this side over here and you reach another Y junction. So you've got a path going down that way. It's just a very small path that just comes to a stop, and that's probably where we're going to have more buildings down here, probably 1 or 2 buildings here. I think will look nice. And then you've also got a pathway going down in this direction as well. But you can see this actually comes to an abrupt stop, and you've actually got a wide gap between these 2 blocks here. And what I'm thinking is, because I've actually mentioned this earlier in the episode, is that I want to have a valley coming down through this section here, which cuts through the terrain, and we have a nice bridge over that. And I think that would look really beautiful in this area. I think it also look very nice to have another river that just comes down and connects up to this river over here. And you can see it's actually quite a large distance as well. I want this to be a very big bridge, and I think it's going to turn out amazing. And I'm also going to add a whole bunch of details down in that valley as well that the bridge is going to sit on top of. But with all of that said, that's pretty much the pathway that we are going to build in today's episode. You can see it's pretty small, but it's got a lot to it, and I think it's going to look absolutely amazing. And from this point of view right now, and at this time, it looks kind of barren. It looks a bit plain and bland, but don't worry. But once we've of course finished up the pathway as well, we're going to add in our custom trees, dot them here and there around the place, and add in some grass, some green concrete powder, some coarse dirt, just to bring this entire place to life. But now I think it's the time of the episode that we should probably start heading into a time lapse and get all of this work done. I think you guys are going to absolutely love it, and then you guys can see the end result and see exactly what I was aiming for. Anyway, I hope you all are going to enjoy this mega terraforming that I'm going to do over here, and I'll see you all straight after the time lapse. And after a whole bunch of building, I'm very happy to announce that we're done with today's time lapse. And I hope all of you guys enjoyed it because I really did love it. And I think the end product that we came up with looks absolutely amazing. Even though it doesn't look like we built a whole bunch, trust me, I still put a lot of effort and time into what we ended up creating. And I think the end product looks absolutely amazing. So I hope you guys really do love it. So I guess without further ado, then we should probably just jump straight into a tour of everything that I went ahead and created. And what better place to start, not with all the beautiful things I created, but what my future plans are for this bridge project over here. Because if you guys don't actually know, this is actually an incomplete project that I want to spend a few episodes on, because this is actually just a very small segment of a much larger project that I'm thinking will happen in this area over here. And what I mean by that is that this river over here is actually the large project itself. I want this river to continue down in that direction over there and cut through the landscape and go as far as the eye can see, because this river is going to look absolutely spectacular if that can happen. And I think it will look really, really nice, and it'll just look super natural in this sort of setting. And I think if you manage to pull that off, this river is going to look super, super cool. And then that's going to take a whole lot of time in itself. And don't even get me started on how long the actual decorating is going to take, because if you look at the river at the moment, you can see the riverbed is pretty barren. It's only one block deep, and there's no real decoration going on here at the moment. There's no blocks, there's no slabs, there's no, kelp, there's no seagrass, there's no fish, there's nothing going on here at the moment. So we need to decorate all of that as well, and that's going to take a huge amount of time. And of course, with that being said though, I cannot do all of that in today's episode because it's going to be a huge project and will end up deciding the fate of how this town will end up looking like. And on top of that, we also need to make the connection between this river over here and that river down there look a little smoother as well. So what I'm going to end up doing is pushing this water level back a little further and digging out this so that it makes a nice smooth gradual slope into this river over here. And I think that'll look quite nice and spectacular. Of course though, before we do that, we should probably dig in a little in this direction over here and make the river just join up so that it looks a little nicer and a little smoother. And I think that will turn out looking pretty cool. And then when it comes to the bridge itself, I think what we came up with was pretty nice. I think it looks very, very cool, and the design itself looks spectacular in my opinion. But you can see it also looks incomplete in the same way that the river does, because you can see, or you might have noticed this already, that the texturing is incomplete. You can see there's no cracked bricks, there's no mossy bricks, and I think that's very important for a build to look good. So I'm probably going to do that off camera so you guys don't have to witness that boring act. But overall, in terms of design, I'm very happy, like I already said. And in terms of functionality, at least at the moment, you can cross over from one side over to the other. But anyway, with this boring talk done, we can at least move on to the fun stuff, which was this part of the time lapse, and I'm really happy with what we came up with. Okay, I just quickly fixed up my render distance so that you can see this a little better now, but you can see that this looks absolutely amazing, and I'm super stoked with how it turned out looking like. It's very, very nice. And to begin with, we've got our beautiful path rolling down in this direction over here. And then other than this path itself, you can see I've included a whole bunch of greenery to make it look spectacular. And then as you're coming in this direction over here, you've got two beautiful, nice looking dark oak trees to guide you through this little hole in the ground here. And I think this hole in the ground actually looks really nice. You've got brick walls on either side pushing back the dirt. That looks really, really cool. And it also gives you some extra space to hide in some flowers in this area as well, just alongside the path, which actually makes it look 10 times better. And actually, one other thing that's great about this hole in the ground over here is actually the fact that it provides a bit of height variation, so that it doesn't make this path a little boring like this area over here and all at the same height. It provides a few different blocks of height here so that you actually can include some staircases and add a little bit more variation into your pathway, and that just makes it a little bit more enjoyable and a little bit more exciting for the player when they're walking around the pathway, which I think makes it really, really quite nice for a stroll. And you can also see that behind these brick walls over here, that I've also added a bit more greenery as well. And I think they look quite beautiful. So you can see that I've added a bit more concrete powder down here, just some green concrete powder, just to make the grass look a little bit more lush and nutritious. And I think that looks pretty cool. And then on top of that, I've also added in some bushes in the form of leaves. And I think that adds in a nice little extra touch of detail when you're walking down this pathway. You're going to see it on top of the brick wall, and I think it looks very cool. And just to mix that up a little bit, we've added in a few sweet berry bushes here and there, and I think that looks really nice. And you can see we basically replicated what we did here on that side as well. And now here is where the fun begins, because this is my favorite part about the time lapse, building these beautiful custom trees. And just before we get into that, actually, you can see that I've also dotted in a few stones and flowers in here and around the place just to make it look nice. But let's just jump straight into it. The beautiful custom trees are up next, and I think these look absolutely amazing. You can see I've added stones around them, podzol and everything like that, coarse dirt, just to make the base look nice. You can see I put in a lot of detail in the trunks as well, using some slabs, stairs and fences, and I think it looks absolutely amazing. And the leaves look super cool as well. From all angles, I think it turned out absolutely spectacularly. And no matter from what angle you're looking at these trees from, I think they look great. Even if you come out from this build over here, you can see that they're going to look amazing. So if you just open these doors here, you can see, look at that beautiful view you get of both the trees. You get one huge beautiful tree right in front of you, and you get this tree lurking in the background as well. And you can see I've also decorated underneath them as well. I've added in some mushrooms, some fungus going off the tree. You can see I've also added stones, like I said, around the trees. I think I've already mentioned that already. And you can see I've also added in a whole bunch of grass just to make this area feel overgrown. And I think that's actually a really nice feel to this area. And you can see no matter from what side, like I said, the trees look absolutely perfect. And you might have also noticed that on this side as well, we've got a small tiny tree, even though it's a little out of the way, I think also looks spectacularly. It's pretty small, but it does the job. I think it's a very nice filler tree and looks really beautiful. It only took me about 5 minutes to build this one compared to like an hour for each of these, but it looks really nice. I think for this small tree over here, I think it's worth it. It's really nice looking, and it doesn't take too much time itself. And you can see in all the trees, I've also tried incorporating different types of leaves. In this one here, I've been using oak and birch, whereas in these ones, I've been using oak and spruce, but it still turned out looking amazing. And altogether, from all the angles that you look at this from, I think it turned out absolutely amazing, and the beautification is on just a whole nother level. I think it's just too good to be true. And now when you guys actually get the world download yourself and you take a stroll through my village and walk around the pathways, you can have a good look at these trees yourself, because I think they look really nice. Even when you're coming up this pathway over here, you can actually get a good look at the underside of the trees, and I think that looks really beautiful. In fact, this might be my thumbnail location. Just imagine a very nice thumbnail for the video over here. Oh, that'd just be perfect, wouldn't it? But with all of that being said though, that's going to have to be the end of today's episode, because even though it doesn't look like a whole bunch was built, trust me, I put a whole bunch of work into today's episode, and it took me a whole lot of time as well. It took me 6+ hours, so I hope you guys really do enjoy this one. Anyway, I hope you guys had a whole bunch of fun watching today's episode. We did a whole lot in terms of the greenery sense. We built a few custom trees here and there, and I think it looks really nice. And we also talked about the future river project and bridge project that we're creating down there, and I think that's going to turn out really cool in the near future. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!